I mean, obviously we want to win the whole thing, but looking back on the year so far, it's been fun.
Is it hard to kind of remember that you're just about to turn 25? You've got so much left in your career.
But every aspect that I kind of pride myself on now in my basketball is what I didn't do at college and what I learned I had to do from that experience. Individual stats, accolades don't matter. The only thing we're worried about is finishing this thing off with a championship.
Welcome back to another episode of The Huddle. I have a quartet joining me, one quarter of a very incredible basketball family here in Australia, the Froling family. Sam Froling joins me on The Huddle. Big fella, how are you?
Good, mate. Thanks for having me.
I always look forward to catching up. We caught up in Summer League, albeit this is, even though we're not next to each other, it's much more comfortable than mini golfing in like 50-degree heat.
Yeah, it is a little nicer. Well, it's pretty hot here right now. I don't know if you can't see much outside, but it has been over 30 degrees every day, and I've been loving every second of it.
I've caught up with a few of the Hawks boys throughout this season, and I for some reason, I expect them all to be finishing practice, walking over to the beach, but some of them aren't so much. They say they're not beach goers, but they just prefer to stay inside. I know you live in there when you can relax, surely.
Yeah, this interview has actually interrupted my regular day. I was ready finish practice, go get some lunch, and then head straight to the beach. But no, I had to come talk to you. It's a good trade.
It's not bad. You are a good man. This season so far, now I know you got the aspirations to win a title and you put yourself in the best position to do that. But summing up the year to this point, what have you looked on and what have you enjoyed so far about it?
I mean, just this group, building on what we did last year with so many guys returning and then adding in Darius and Trey, and they've been such great pieces. But I mean, obviously we want to win the whole thing, but looking back on the year so far, it's been fun. Sometimes in this stuff you can get caught up in practice is hard, I don't want to do this today. It's every day here is a joy to come and be around the guys and work, and it just makes it easy. It makes every game and every session a lot of fun, and it's pretty special.
When you think about a year like this, as you said, it's far from over. You got the aspirations to win it all, as you very well could. Knowing what you've been through in a couple of years for the Hawks, how do you compare the two in terms of mentally where you're at? Because you're smiling every day going to work. I'm sure it was a little harder to do that when your team's really struggling to get any wins.
100%. I mean, it's night and day, and it's you try and do this balancing act of separating the basketball from normal life, but when you're in that rut and you're not winning a lot of games, it's hard to do that, and it does bleed over into normal life. So comparing the two, this has been a lot easier, and it's a lot more fun to be around, and it just gives you that edge and motivation to want to stay up here and throughout your career continue to be on successful teams.
Does it allow you to appreciate it more this season because you've been, I guess, the lowest possible scenario for a professional sports team?
100%. Me and Tyler talk about it all the time. We've got a bit of a running joke that year's purged from our memories now. So I said I had a gap year, and he said he stayed in America. So, but yeah, you go through that stuff, and it's a great learning experience, and you grow so much from it. And so when you're in these positions, you really do appreciate it.
JT coming in, we know he came in halfway through last season, turned things around, but we're really seeing it this year. We saw it in the off-season. We saw it in the preseason. The joy never stopped. That vibe in Illawarra never stopped. Why is it so special? And can you even put your finger on what makes it such a joy to be around?
I mean, he leads from the front. I've said this a lot. His passion and the love he has for the game and the drive he wants to win. And he just kind of drags everyone along, and then it just snowballs, and instead of him motivating, it becomes led from the players or like driven from inside yourself. And so you watch him come in every day with that much passion. He's been sick a couple of times this year where he's sweating up a storm. He can hardly stand up, but he does the whole practice. He's coached games like that. And it's like, well, if he can get through that and do that, then, whatever little my leg's sore or something, my back's a bit tired, I can push through that for him. And it's just when you got a guy like that at the front, that's so inspiring. It's pretty easy to follow.
A lot going on in your life in terms everyone wants to talk about free agency. It's the part of professional sports that you kind of have to deal with, but there's the right time to deal with it as well, which is going to be at the end of the season. With all of that going on, with what you've been through, with this season where you're at, is it hard to kind of remember that you're just about to turn 25? You've got so much left in your career.
Yeah. I think probably this year has been more I've been understood my age, and it's probably coming into this, years past, I've even myself held myself probably to a higher standard than what most 22 or 23-year-olds would have. But after the year I had last year, and I thought I played really well, and I think I built on it this year and improved. In my head, it's like, going into this free agency period, and while we're having such a good year, I've just really come to appreciating what we're doing now, what I've been doing and how I've been playing, and what I've got ahead of me. And it's just, it's fun, and it's going to be an interesting time, but I'm excited for it. And hopefully, we finish this year off really strong, and we take care of business there.
Is part of that allow you to, I guess, not so much worry about the future, not worry about free agency because of how much joy you're having now? Whereas if this is 2 years ago and things are really struggling day-to-day life, where that's probably weighing on you, is like, man, what is next? Am I staying here? Am I going? Is it more, you say, I can live in the moment now, because whatever happens after this is going to take care of itself, because right now I'm just having the best time of my life.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, that's the beauty of being on such an unselfish team and with guys that just love being around each other and just want to win. Individual stats, accolades don't matter. The only thing we're worried about is finishing this thing off with the championship. And so that makes it easy for me, because I just buy into that. And I've know what I've done over my career and where I'm at and what's happening. And so that part of me is, I understand, it's stress-free there. It's no worries. I'm putting that to the side and just focusing on what us, the Hawks, are doing this year.
It's a good point, because they are very exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens towards the end of this season. Let's go back to where it all began, growing up in the Froling household. We hear all the stories. We see it from the girls. We've seen it from Harry, even your mum and dad. But the competitive side of it, give us a real snapshot of what growing up was like with some of the ultra competitors all through the family.
It's funny. So Harry's actually down in Wollongong now, living with me for the rest of this year, and had his first practice with us. And we were walking through some drills or doing it at 80%, and I tried to score on him down one end, and he tried to score on me down the other, go 1-on-1, and JT's just on the sideline like, "Come on, you Frolings, like, relax. We're going through the offense." So it's never stopped, and that's all of us siblings. The girls were older, and so they had the size and advantage, and beat me up a lot. And then as we caught up, we got a bit back on them. And Harry always was bigger than me and stronger than me and better than me as youngsters. So he was always beating me up. And then it was finally time when I got old enough and could give it back to him a little bit, where I could compete. And it was a lot of fun. Yeah, but they certainly enjoyed picking on their younger brother.
Do you remember a moment for you individually when basketball became a thought of, I know that basketball's been around my family, but this is something, one, I want to do, but two, I can actually do it?
Yeah, so I was actually probably a little better at AFL as a kid growing up, and my siblings all kind of took off into their basketball careers in juniors, making nationals, making national teams, traveling the world with this thing. And I was still too young for that stuff, but footy had started to take off for me. And I remember I think it might have been when I turned 15, and in my head, I was like, this is my last year of basketball. Footy's coming up. It's taken off. I'm a good footy player. It's going to be fun. And at the end of that year, I made my first Australian development camp. Went there, had a really good camp. And then it's just kind of like bang, 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 national team, AIS scholarship. And it all kind of took off from there. And I never looked back. It was just a bit of a timing thing for me. And I'm pretty happy with my choice.
Was there any early thoughts once you'd picked basketball thinking, I'm going to do this, where, maybe I should have gone to footy? And on that, How many times have you been, I guess, approached by maybe some footy clubs being like, just come down, have a tryout? It happens a lot with college kids from recently, but now even NBL kids, they're always lurking, ready to take some of our talent.
Yeah, I mean, initially when I went, I was pretty happy to spend the 2 years at the institute and work on my basketball there, and then just kind of fell in more love with the game. And in my head, it was always, college was the next step for me there, and then the NBL afterwards. So you know what, maybe like that first year, it might have been a bit like, I can always go back to it, but kind of as I progressed and fell in love with it, it was always coming back. And then early in my career, I had a few footy clubs hit me up, but now I've kind of established myself in the NBL a bit more. They haven't hit my phone.
Well, I'm glad that, because you would translate very well with footy field, but we enjoy seeing you on the basketball court. The Institute of Sport's an interesting one. We've seen a lot of elite talent come through there. When you first decided you were going to head over there, what was going through your mind? Did you know what you were walking into? Did anything shock you about that first year? How did you prepare yourself?
Well, I mean, I had the benefit of my all three siblings going the years before me, and Harry was there directly before me. So that was good, just flowing into that. So just, picking their brains for some of the stuff they knew. Capes was the coach then, and he was really good, like on the phone to me all the time, telling me what to expect, the standards they were ready for. And then we get there, and within my first couple of weeks, they bring in two ex-Army guys to run us through a 48-hour boot camp where we slept for 20 minutes, and I was like, oh my God, what have I got myself into? But no, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, just picking the brains of the people around that have been there and done it. And my parents both went there. So, I'm very fortunate to have had people that have gone before me that I can learn from.
You mentioned in that the dream was to always do that, then go to college. You had the year at Creighton when that was all coming out, when that was all becoming a realistic thing that you're about to live through. What was that moment like? I'm sure it would have been special to sign on it, to head over there, because college, for the fans who I guess just see a lot of the Australian college talent come back, unless you've actually lived it, it's a lot different than what you just see on the TV.
Super different. And I think part of my experience was I didn't know what to expect there. That was somewhere where, my brother didn't have a good experience. One of my sisters didn't, but both of my sisters didn't have, they had mixed experiences. And so because there's so many schools, you don't know. It's not this one place where everyone goes, where you can talk to everyone. Each school's a different experience. And so I wasn't sure what I was going into, but it taught me a lot when I was there, a lot about myself and a lot of what I need to be able to do to make it in what would have been college, but ended up being my professional career after I left. And it's funny looking back on it now. I'm still really good friends with a lot of my teammates from there, and the coaching staff. We're all on really good terms. And if you had asked me the year after I left there, it was everyone there's fault. Coach didn't play me, all this. But now looking back on it, I put on a lot of bad weight. I was really out of shape. I wasn't bought into the practice, the extra stuff. And you know what? Coming back to the NBL, now I'm behind Dave Anderson, AJ Ogilvy, Josh Boone. If I'm not on point in all those things, I don't have a job anymore. So that's, as I grew and played in the NBL, that's kind of what I took from my college experience. And I'm really glad I went through that in that year instead of having to go through it behind those guys where, you know what, if you don't perform, you're done. So that was really good. And it's the only sad thing I guess is, I feel like I might have let some of the coaches and my teammates down over there. But at the end of the day, it's what's got me to where I am. And yeah, I don't regret a thing.
It's funny you talk about that first year of, again, putting on weight in college where it's talked about the freshman 15. That's what everyone likes to do. They're putting freshmen, they always put on 15 pounds when they go to college, regardless of how much you practice. But the truth's somewhat similar in terms of a dining hall, albeit the college dining halls is a lot more unhealthy than is at the AIS. But you also find yourself going to fast food, doing all of that. It catches up on you quickly. I went through the same thing freshman year. People don't quite understand is, yes, you might be practicing a lot, but there's a lot of downtime when you're in a classroom, when you're just finding a chance to eat, and it's not going to be good food.
No. The institute food was great. we complained because it was too healthy and we didn't think it tastes good. College was the other way. That tastes real good, but it was not good for you at all. So yeah, that part of it was a massive learning experience in the discipline side of it. But yeah, now I think I'd say I'm pretty meticulous with all that stuff in my diet, and yeah, it's every aspect that I kind of pride myself on now in my basketball is what I didn't do at college and what I learned I had to do from that experience.
It's great to hear you say as well that you wouldn't change it, because I was going to ask that. We see it a lot now where people go across to college, people have their first pro year, and it's not the way that they envisioned. And you ask them, would you go back and change things if you could? And they'd say, well, probably. But for you say, no, you know what? No, I needed to learn that. And it was the right time for you to learn what it took to take the next step.
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of my mindset too is I'm not going to want to sit back and change things because you can't. So what's the point of worrying about it? And you look at that with a lot of guys. I mean, you look at Jack McVeigh. He's a guy that didn't have a great college career. First couple of years in the NBL were average. And you know what? All NBL teams, wins a championship, Olympics, NBA. It's, so much of it is just learning from your experiences and constantly getting better. And that's just kind of what I try and take away each year.
When you talk about your learnings as a player at college, but even that first year, there's some big names when you arrive to the NBL that you're learning from and you're playing behind. Those first couple of years when you become a professional athlete, you sign that contract, you're getting paid to play. Looking back on it now, what are you most proud of when you first signed on to 2 years after that when you really started to find your feet?
I mean, just my progression each year. My personal goal every year is just a little bit better than the year before. It's kind of been my whole life is just it's a steady climb. You see some guys come out of nowhere, skyrocket up in talent. I've always been pretty good, like one of the best, and through juniors and then into the NBL, you start down here. And my thing is just a little better each year, keep climbing, and then by the end of your career, you look where you've come from and you go, wow, the improvement's incredible. But I'm sure year by year, it probably doesn't look like a massive jump. But at the end of my career is I want to look at it if my body's still good and say, I'm playing the best basketball I ever have, just year on year improvement. And so that's a lot of that too comes from my first year at the Hawks, where we did have AJ Ogbie, Dave Anderson, Josh Boone, guys who have done it before, and I'm learning from Timmy Conrad, who are all getting into those last couple of years of their career, but still doing it at an extremely high level. And for a young guy coming in and seeing big guys doing that, it just kind of, I have to emulate what these guys have done because they're still doing it.
Fast forward then to now where you've gone through all that, you've learned all of that, you've been in the program for so long. But as we speak, before your birthday next week, you're a 24-year-old veteran of a team with a lot of other young guys coming in, you and Tyler Harvey as leaders. Do you feel like now was the perfect opportunity for you to have stepped up as a leader, or do you think it all took, again, you talk about getting better as a basketball player, but same as the leadership and veteran-wise and the experience?
Yeah, I mean, it's another thing that I've stepped into in my first year as captain. I think it might have been 3 years ago. I'm sure I'm a lot better now than I was. Part of this group that we have makes it really easy. There's no massive egos that we have to deal with. There's no one we have to baby. Everyone's super punctual, on time, like really good with wearing uniform, all the little stuff that, as a leader, sometimes you have to be the one to call guys out or do that for. That's not an issue with us. And so they make my job really easy. And obviously doing it with Tyler makes it super easy as well. And I learned from, AJ was our captain for those years when he was still playing, and he was one of the best captains I've ever played for. But it's not, you don't have to be a dictator or mean and calling guys out all the time. It's just a lot of my style is just lead from the front. I can't ask guys to work hard and do all this stuff if I'm not doing it myself.
You talked a little bit about in there with the family growing up and the competitiveness. Talk to us a bit about the Froling group chat. There's got to be some. Is there a siblings one and then a different one that has the parents in it, or you just all use the same one?
There is a siblings one, but the one with the parents in it gets a bit more activity.
Really?
Yeah. There's some good stuff in there. Harry chirps a lot. And the best one is there's obviously in Townsville right now, there's a lot of rain and some floods going on. And Dad sent a big paragraph about what the weather's doing. And the local weather guy up there is called Livio Regano. The first message, I was driving somewhere, I get out of the car, read it. Dad sent this big paragraph, Harry's message. Thanks, Livio. He's photoshopped the weatherman with Dad's face on it. It was like, it's just buffoonery that is just good fun. And, that's what a lot of it is. It's just us enjoying each other. It's not even smack talk about basketball or anything. It's just, having some fun and having digs at each other.
How active would it be, again, growing up when everyone else is playing? Because we spoke a lot. I spoke to Harry. We've heard the girls talk about it, that you are all locked in on each other's games and you do make sure that you watch and you make time for each other and enjoy all the success you've each had.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's cool, and part of growing up watching them is I wanted to do what they did through the junior stuff and then copy it. And so they do some things in their game that, what I watch and I go, that was pretty cool. Or hopefully they look at me and go like, oh, that's a good little move or something that we can copy. And so that kind of stuff's good, just growing off each other and learning. And then just one of the best and for each other to win. Like Keely's already won a couple championships. The Fire's doing really well this year, so Alicia might be up there. And then Harry's whole journey and him getting back into this thing and hopefully trying to make it back will be, that's something we're all really excited for and pushing for. And it's just a lot of fun doing this, having our own journeys, but having each other to watch and learn from.
I do want to talk about Harry because it is a special story now that he's down with you. But just on, you mentioned a couple of things there. The girls having won some titles. We're talking about some 50-point games, some massive games, some rebounding records, switching hands in the middle of playing professionally. Is there banter from them still, or everybody else just reminding that all the little achievements like, hey, you've still got to get up to here and then we'll talk?
Well, I mean, in our books, probably championships are the biggest thing, and Keely's the only one. Keely and Mum are the only ones with ones right now, so they've got the higher ground there. And once they bring that out, there's nothing we can say. There's otherwise you just look selfish and like an individually worried about individual accolades. So yeah, there is a bit there, but for us other three and Dad that haven't got championships yet, yeah, we can talk all the smack we want about that stuff.
Love that. It would be so fun to see it be a fly on the wall. The Harry story and what he's been through for him now, and again the journey he's on to get back to playing basketball. Just him training at the Hawks, where I'm sure himself, you, the family, at one point didn't even think this was possible. I'm sure it's been a bit of an emotional journey to see him back on the floor, but how's it made you feel?
No, it's been awesome. And just the guys down here have been so great with him. Even we're sitting there watching practice, the DPs and stuff working out, and Harry's in there with them, and just me and Tyler sitting there, we're like, look at each other. You forget how good he is. Like, he's super talented, and as he gets his body back in shape and does this stuff, it's his skill level is off the charts, and he's definitely got the tools to make it. It's just, and so these last couple of weeks, especially, it was a bit emotional, especially for him when he went in and saw the docs and kind of they cleared him for practice and everything. So that was really cool. And yeah, it's you sit there and watch what he does, and he trained against us today. It's really cool just having him here, and the boys have been so great with it and bringing him in. He hit a game winner in one of our drills the other day, and that night Davo sends me the clip from practice and was just like, "This is pretty cool, man." Like, and it's that's cool to have the guys that I'm playing with and my brothers here accept my real family and want him to do well as much as I do.
It's crazy to hear that because you really, from the outside looking, don't really quite understand. We talk about how close this group is, but I'm trying to think about how this situation would be on any other team. And I feel like it just wouldn't feel as, real's not the right word, but special as it would be with this Illawarra Hawks, the small community, the small town, but this club, this team, the way you're doing it here. It feels like for you, I'm sure that this is exactly where you're meant to be right now.
Yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I love about Wollongong and this team is everything's so intimate. We know everyone, like all the sponsors, the fans. You get to know these people, especially after you've been here for a while. And while the team, we're spending time with each other every day and it's really close. you go to the shops and people are talking about how proud they are of you or what you've been doing. And I mean, even the games, in my opinion, the WEC is one of the hardest places to play for an opposition team because the setting is intimate. The fans are right there on that sideline and you can't get away from them. And for us, that's super awesome and super helpful. But, I don't think I'd want to be on that other end of it.
The season as a whole, as you get towards this finals push, I talk to Justin Tatum a lot about this bench unit, and you've been around long enough to know how important the bench unit is to winning a title. He gave us a small snapshot the other week, pre-game when we were talking, saying the bench guys, they get their fair share of wins in practice. One, is that true? And two, how competitive are practices of the Hawks?
Yeah, definitely true. And it's, it's funny. With the starting unit plays a lot of big minutes, and so for us, sometimes you come into practice like, oh, I'm a bit sore today, I'm not going to do it. And then, you know what, Davo's like, no, I'm going 100%. And Tyler gets fired up and he's like, no, now I'm into practice. Or, Luca and Aldrich are going at me. And, I've walked in like, oh, I'll take it easy today. And now it's like, no, I'm not letting these two beat me. So that's the benefit of having such a young crew as well that's on the bench units. They're all super hungry and thirsty to be in and earn their opportunities and get into it. And it helps us and drives us and holds the starter guys accountable, because if we're not doing what they're doing, then we don't deserve the spots that we have ahead of them.
What would it mean to win a championship this year, especially for you individually and Tyler, the ones that have been there through a 3-win season, have been there through the absolute bottom part of being a professional athlete, to in the span of 5 years still managing to win a title? What would it actually mean?
Man, it would be the best thing. Like, to see the world. Me and Tyler have talked about it so much this year. Greeter as well. Just the guys who have been here for so long and gone through it. And then this group, the whole group, just understands what it means to us in the town. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine anything better. And one of my things too is a little extra motivation. Tyler, I might have seen have one drink, a glass of wine since I've been with him. He said if we win, he's celebrating with us. So that's something I need to see.
That's the vibes we're going for. I think that's why everybody, Illawarra Hawks, they're not your favourite team, they're your second favourite team. Froles, before I let you go, I had a couple of fun ones here because I spoke to Trey Kell recently. Let's put the flight over to Perth, the longest flight in the league. And you as a veteran, you've been around long enough. Who do you absolutely not want to be sitting next to on that? And you can't say Greeter.
Nah, so we've got a pretty good row going on right now. We've got a good thing going. It's me, Greeter, and Toddy Blanchfield that's been good. The one I might not want to sit next to, but it's actually worse having him behind me, which he's been a few times, is Lockie Aldrich.
Really?
Because he's recently learned that I'm quite ticklish. And he loves to stick his hands behind me through the seat and just
be a pest.
It's so annoying, and everyone thinks it's so funny. But no, if he was sitting beside me, that might not be the best one either.
That's a fair call. That's a very fair call. I won't tell you who the rest of your teammates said. I don't think you've actually popped up. I think you're very safe there. The last one before I let you go, I want you to build the perfect basketball player out of each of the Frolings, including the parents. You've got to take a skill from each of them and build the perfect one. What is it?
All right. My finishing.
Yep.
Harry shooting. Alicia's aggression.
Okay.
Feisty. Keely. I might go Keely's defense. She's probably the best one. She can pick up full court better than any of us can. She's played a bit more of that guard spot. Keely's defense. I'll give him credit. He's annoying sometimes, but I'll give him some credit. We'll take Dad's coaching brain.
Okay.
And then Mum's generosity. She'd be willing to share that ball and get everyone involved, and she'd be a great leader.
That's a good setup there. That's the perfect Froling. That'll win a lot of basketball games, man. As I said, we love what the Hawks are doing this season. Good luck for the finals. Hope you go a long way and hope you finish it off with a chip.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for having me.